Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Southampton Town Board to order on this 26th day of February 2019. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we join together for a moment of silence. We just recently learned that one of our CAC chairs in North Sea, Lucy Dunn, passed away last Friday, and we'd like to honor her memory with a moment of silence. She was also the chair of our Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And John, I know you knew her probably better than me, having been a liaison to that Solid Waste Advisory Committee. If you want to add to that.
Well, she'll be missed. She was a real force on the committee, and always cheerful, always positive, always worked well with everyone, and she'll be sorely, sorely missed. And we're all in the committee feeling her loss, and I just want to convey my personal condolences to her family, and wish them the best over the next period over this her loss, and she'll be sorely, sorely missed.
And of course, last week the Hampton Bays community hosted the funeral for Detective Brian Simonson from NYPD, and though he wasn't from the Hampton Bays community, I feel like we've adopted him somehow as a native son. We learned together about this heroic individual, this fallen hero, and the Hampton Bays community did a tremendous job in honoring his memory and his life and his service, and paying a beautiful, solemn tribute to this fallen hero. So let's add him to our moment of silence. And then, of course, we try to keep in our thoughts and prayers all of the men and women of uniform of our armed services, our emergency services, our police departments, being ever mindful of the risks that they face every day, as we saw with Detective Simonson. So let's pause for a moment in their honor. Okay, thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Schneiderman.
Present.
Councilwoman Lofstad.
Here.
Councilwoman Scalera.
Here.
Councilman Bouvier.
Here.
Councilman Schiavone.
Present.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. Okay, let me start by making a motion to approve the minutes from the regular town board meeting of February 12th, 2019.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning, Suffolk County Planning Commission notice of meeting for March 6th regarding the Hampton Bays Waterfront Revitalization Plan, and letters of local determination for several chapters of the code. Town of East Hampton, public hearing notice. Village of Sag Harbor, Board of Trustees, public hearing notice. Village of West Hampton Beach, Zoning Board of Appeals, adjoining neighbor notifications for Oneck Lane, Point Road, and Harbor Road in West Hampton Beach. New York State liquor license, advance notice to municipalities from listed entity, and letters, emails, and land use applications have been received regarding the following. Chapter 330-109, retaining walls for sanitary systems, community choice aggregation enabling legislation, and street lighting for Sandy Hollow Road, Mountain Laurel Lane in Tuckahoe. Conservation Board wetland permit application for Far Pond Road in Shinnecock Hills, Planning Board application for Montauk Highway in East Quogue, and a Zoning Board of Appeals application for Cedar Avenue, North Sea. The following reports were filed in my office, the WSP for October, November, and December 2018 Row Industries Groundwater Status Report for Sag Harbor. The following bid openings took place on February 13th for embroidered and silk screening clothing, and on February 20th for liquid propane gas, and also on February 20th for Mercury Marine Parts. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. All right, so we're going to move to public hearings. We only have one on for this evening. Cindy, if you'd read the first public hearing notice.
Certainly. Public hearing number 1, to consider the adoption of Hampton Bays Waterfront Revitalization Plan pursuant to New York State General Municipal Law, Article 15, Urban Renewal Law.
All right, thank you. And Janice Shearer, our Assistant Planning Director, will introduce us.
Thank you, Supervisor Schneiderman, members of the board. This public hearing subject is the Hampton Bays Waterfront Resort Revitalization Plan. This is a plan that was prepared over the much-debated 20 Shinnecock Road parcel in the hamlet of Hampton Bays. This parcel has a pre-existing non-conforming motel use on it currently that's serving as apartments where they're not technically allowed. The motel itself has 6,560 square feet, of which 1,750 square feet is two-story housing and office space, and it currently contains about 20 rental units, where the legal number, as per a ZBA decision, is 16. This plan has been prepared pursuant to Article 15 of General Municipal Law, and this law enables the town, it's state legislation that enables municipalities to create plans to address vacant, blighted, deteriorated sites that are causing concern in various communities. So this plan is an opportunity to address this site and serves as a plan and a template for how the town can step in to assist in the transition for this location, in that it's difficult for a developer to take the risk and understand the certainty of what will be permitted or not if they were to try to redevelop this parcel. And the proposal now under this urban renewal plan is for the town to acquire this parcel, determine the best use, and the two options in this plan are, one of the options is a 22-unit boutique hotel, and the other option is a 12-unit, could be seasonal resort, sort of townhouse style dwelling units. And this, remains to be seen, which is the best plan that would require community engagement. But what would happen is the town would acquire this parcel, put in the plans and permits in place so that it could then be redeveloped. And this would be easier for them to transition it back to either resort. Having it as an RWB in its placement makes some amount of sense. It's R20 zone now with a small portion zoned RWB. You can rezone it RWB so it stays resort. You could rezone it something like SC44, which would be like a senior housing, or MF44, with the ultimate yield being 12 units, which is really, it's a 1.43 acre parcel. That would be about the maximum you could really do when you count in sanitary system and parking and amenities on the site, like a pool and whatever else. So the basic point is to consider that this plan would be your roadmap to doing that. And if you adopt this plan, it would give you the authority to then acquire the property under Article 15 and then determine the best course of action with the community engagement. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Janice?
Would this apply to other similar sites?
Not at this time. This plan, so Article 15 indicates that it could be a project or site. It doesn't necessarily have to be a large area like you might have. We did do an urban renewal plan in the hamlet of Riverside at one point in the town's history.
Well, that's a legal question, whether or not this site suffices.
Right, and I would defer to Jim for that, but it does say, basically that the town is enabled to create such a plan And
Right. Sites don't necessarily have to be contiguous. It could be, I think your point is, could we use this as a template for other sites within the Hampton Bays community or
Have
other
to be
parts of the
blighted,
town? I
though.
think we could, yes.
And the plan does say that. It says the plan has selected one property to serve as a template or example for catalyzing the transformation of former hotel properties back to resort-type uses, so the town can better identify what changes are necessary to incentivize private investment in rebuilding the Hampton-based tourist economy.
Wouldn't those other sites then need to be delegated as part, designated as
Yeah,
part of the plan?
right. We'd probably have to tweak the plan to try to expand it to maybe even at least cite some other locations in
Well,
the,
not necessarily, because if this is successful at the Bel Air site and another property that maybe a former hotel that's not being used as a hotel came forward and said, hey, I would like to reinvest too, but I can't get the right density or whatever, we will have identified the regulatory hurdles
right.
in this case, and then we could consider a zone change on a case-by-case basis without going through the urban renewal process.
Well, then it has to be part of the original plan. You have to designate the sites that you're talking about that you want this to apply to initially, and then in the plan. It's in the statute.
No, if you're going to use urban renewal elsewhere. I'm saying you don't need to use urban renewal elsewhere. Urban renewal would allow us to acquire it. Those other sites might not need to be acquired. The owners of those properties could petition the town for the same types of changes.
Oh, you can do it for a change, yeah, right. You can do it through a zone change. or something.
Exactly.
You wouldn't actually use urban renewal on the other sites you're talking about.
Right.
But I think,
So you're going to come up with another zoning category?
No.
So
We,
then what would they change the zone to that this parcel can't do the same thing?
on a case-by-case basis. So the resort zone category, some of those other hotels, unless you give me a specific place, I don't know whether they're zoned residentially, or whether they're zoned hotel, whether they're zoned RWB. Each one may be a different situation. I only know in terms of Bel Air, which is zoned residentially, I know, it has run up against several regulatory walls. One is you cannot expand a non-conforming use more than 50%. They've used that up already. In earlier expansions, they added the house to it. So they really don't have very little room to expand. And to convert it to the 12-unit condominium, that conversion under our code doesn't allow you to increase the floor area. So you're sort of stuck. And that's keeping people from investing in this property and putting the type of money in to make it a positive contributor to the tourism economy in the area. So it would really be a case-by-case site. You'd have to, if you're going to add other properties, you'd have to make a determination that they were currently blighted. I think here with the Bel Air, it's not hard to make that determination that it's blighted.
Just a legal question. Once you go through the process of doing this, because it's very often done for low-income housing and blight, which is what the statute was designed around, and allowing for municipalities justifiably to use condemnation or eminent domain and all those
no,
things.
no.
Once you do that and designate it, can it go for, could it be changed into then, because it has that designation as an urban renewal piece, can it be something other than what's being described right now? Meaning, could another administration come in and make it housing, or could it make it, do you know
They'd
what I'm
have
saying?
to amend the plan
You're right, I mean, you,
No, but it's part of an urban renewal. It's been designated as an urban renewal.
based on a specific
Lot.
plan, though.
Well,
Yeah, there
Right.
has to be a specific
you'd
plan.
want to provide some sort of,
It can only be
I
developed.
just want some
Parameters
safeguards,
for
because in the
particular use,
statute,
yeah.
it allows, even without a public hearing, for them to be used for a utility site. I just want to know what the safeguards are for what is being proposed now, and I know there's also suggested timeframes in which to allow building permits, and perhaps
Yeah,
you don't,
I
you
think-
make them come before the agency, which I'm assuming the board's going to act as the agency?
it's a good
Planning
point. If we
department.
wanted to drill down on
governing
the
body.
plan to specify certain uses, and only those certain uses, I think we can include that in the plan if you want to do something like that.
I just want safeguards in
But
there.
it already does.
Yeah.
The urban renewal plan is very specific.
Identifies this.
Two possible uses,
That's
and
it,
if
yeah.
neither one of them progresses, it will be used for community
I
purposes,
just
like
don't-
craft shows and things like
I
that.
just want to make sure, because it's got that legal designation, there aren't other things outside of what this plan may say that would enable it to be used for other purposes other than what's been identified.
So what our bond counsel instructed us is, we must have a plan to use urban renewal, so that if we're going to designate it, it has to be according to a very specific plan, and the plan has to have certain elements that are all contained in that plan. So that plan is specific. There's no other urban renewal use that at least my understanding, than what the plan would.
I get what you're saying. Because
Well-
it's a designation for municipal purposes and for federal purposes and for state purposes, I need to know that there are safeguards in there or a legal determination that it's not required, and that what is being proposed are the only allowable things, and it just can't go to a utility, for instance,
Right.
without a public
Sure.
hearing, which is allowed
Yeah,
for in the
absolutely.
law. I just want to make sure those safeguards are in there.
Sure, absolutely.
How do we do it
Right.
with Riverside? Because we designated that
It
as
was a
an
much
urban
larger
renewal.
area, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what
Right.
happened was
And
it was,
overlap,
We had a plan in.
it was
place.
initially an urban renewal area, but then in the end, you did a form-based code, so
Right.
that designation kind of fell away. But it was an initial idea to then
It was
address lighted
formally
conditions.
designated, though, as an urban renewal.
It was, it
expired,
was.
though, didn't it, when the CDA, because it was going to be done in conjunction with the CDA, which never happened, so I think it just expired. or
Yeah, we
ran
did
out.
an urban renewal plan, and I don't think the designation carried forward once
Right.
you did the form-based code. So in this case, you are creating an urban renewal plan, a plan for a project that you've identified here in this document, one way or another. And if you wanted to change that, you would have to change the plan, which would require a new public hearing. And this plan is supposed to identify what zoning you need to accomplish the plan. So say you rezoned at RWB, there's no residential allowed there. That's only for motel, like resort style.
Well, it's interesting. So let's say it's RWB, which allows motels and restaurants and marinas and things like that. Based on the plan, you couldn't do a restaurant there. You could only do a hotel, right? So we're limiting the type of uses to two uses, either a boutique hotel, 22-unit boutique hotel, or a 12-unit townhouse facility.
Yeah, the plan gets really granular on what you can do there, even though the zoning category might have, you could build a roller rink, but you're not going to do that. You're going to build only
The
this.
plan is specific
Specific.
And this
to,
supersedes the.
And if we have if we come to a point where we are actually transferring if we acquire it and then we actually transfer pursuant to this plan, we can even have those additional safeguards in that transfer document.
And that will
It can
supersede
only
the
be used
GML
for a certain-
designation.
Yes, I think it's all contemplated.
All right,
And that's true, as property owner, say you acquire it, you can, you can put covenants and restrictions on it as the owner.
and we've
then
already said
transfer.
in the plan, it says it has to have an IA system to remove the nitrogen from the sanitary waste. I think there was a couple other conditions that were built in, to energy efficiency types of things.
Right.
and the money is not going to flow through the CDA anymore, because that's not happening, so it's going to come from where? And flow
So,
how?
the money would either come in the form of a bond or money taken from reserves. When the property is transferred, the money will be replenished.
From the surplus?
Yes.
And the safeguards are contemplated, is that correct? Did I hear you correctly?
I'm sorry?
The safeguards are contemplated in the plan, that count?
Sure, yes, yes.
If
No.
he's going to look at the designation.
All right.
And also, you would be getting down the road with the planning board, like literally, it's my understanding that we're going to take it all the way to having permits in place. So it's designed,
We'll have control.
permitted, so you have full control of it. And then so that certainty and risk is really minimized, and that's how you get that
Absolutely.
investment.
If this comes to that point, we'll have control over everything. We're not going to transfer them until, like John
Until
says,
it's all-
until the
So
planning
just to
board has-
distinguish it, so the urban renewal laws, there is another provision that allows for demonstration projects. That would be different. That would be the town not only buying it, would be building it. We're not proposing building it. We're proposing getting the permits in place and then, not necessarily selling it to the highest bidder.
No.
So somebody will do an RFP, will get proposals. Somebody might say, I'll pay this much for the townhouse development. And somebody else says, we'll pay this much for the hotel development. There are pros and cons to each. So a hotel maybe is less taxes toward the school, I'm sure more than what it currently pays. Let me just finish.
Yeah.
But it may support the local economy more than the townhouse development, which may pay more to the school, but maybe less multipliers for the local economy. So I think those are decisions we will have to make down the road. And, we have to meet, the plan mentions several stakeholder groups, but, we'd want to reach out and get a sense of, design and what the preferred community alternative is, and then sort of go down that route.
So at the time you set the bid out, you will have though decided if it's going to be one or the other, because then the sponsor has to pay, even if they come in lower, they would have to meet the higher bid, so you'd have to. they'd have
Right,
to
I
know
wouldn't,
what
I
they're bidding
would,
on.
I don't think it would be costly to develop, get the permits for Plan A or B. I think we have to pick one or the
Right.
other.
You have to go out
And you'd
to.
have the
Yeah.
control at that time. The board
They
would
have
be
to pay.
You have to pay.
controlling the whole thing, the whole process.
Right now, you're saying it could be this or that, and then as you move forward with after, let's say you vote to acquire it, you would then do some more research and determination as to which path you want to take, covered both ways under this plan. And
The
then whatever
finan-
route
the
it is.
financial analysis in the plans seems to indicate that the townhouse development is more profitable than the hotel development. So,
Right, it just comes down to what will, all, taken together with all your other policies for, waterfront development, you maintaining public access to the water, all of those things combined should lead you to whatever you decide. Whether or not that's private townhouse development or if it's some type of boutique hotel where people can come and stay in a resort style and enjoy Hampton Bays, which is part of our whole revitalization efforts. As you know, we're trying to revitalize the downtown, the trifecta of the canal, the beach, and the downtown area is always we've always got our goal.
just as a side note, I was down at the Pavilion today. It's looking great.
I bet.
And it'd be terrific.
Right, so we're trying to foster that whole, bring back that whole sense of, the tourism economy of Hampton Bays. And that's part of the plan here.
All right, any other questions for James?
No?
Thank
Okay,
you.
stick around, because we may have more. I only have one card on this, Donna Thiel. Just you.
Hello, everybody. It's me again. I printed the plan out. Nice job. Nice job. I read it very carefully. I'm speaking today in support of the revitalization plan. My reasons are simple. I've lived in Hampton Bays for over 20 years. I've seen a slow deterioration of Hampton Bays to the point that tourists, as you mentioned, Janet, have no reason to go there. Years ago, the goal of the town was to get rid of the bars and the clubs, and they didn't want the traffic, which they definitely succeeded in doing. But the residual effect is what we're dealing with right now in Hampton Bays, and specifically the Bel Air. It's the reason why, in my small development of only 40 homes, 5 families have moved out in the last 4 years, once their oldest child was going to school. The reason they moved to East Quogue and West Hampton, they felt that the schools in the downtown areas in those locations were better. The school's taken the biggest hit on this. We all know that. No one with children will be a first-time buyer in Hampton Bays. And even the second home market's being affected due to the condition of the downtown Main Street. And by the way, that's not conjecture and it's not rumor, it's facts. I've been told by my friends in the real estate business out here, people come out to look at a house in Hampton Bays, they love the house. Let's go look in East Quogue and West Hampton, we like the school district better. So we're definitely suffering. The Bel Air needs to be shut down if other efforts have failed to do so. So let's go to Plan B, which is where we are now. I do commend the town board for stepping outside the box to come up with another solution to fix this problem. Now the positive. Some progress is already being made in Hampton Bays, the CPI project, the Ponquag Pavilion, which does look beautiful, by the way, and the fishing pier. This revitalization plan that you're talking about tonight is the next step. I have to say, I was at the meeting when the Sag Harbor community was here talking about the movie theater. What support they got? $4 million in CPF. Unbelievable. Wouldn't it be great if Hampton Bays would pull together that way and support this plan? That's what we need. The finger pointing and the blame has got to end. Unfortunately, those people that always complain aren't here. We're at the point now, like I said, where the finger pointing will do nothing to restore the economics in Hampton Bays to a sustainable level. Other towns on Long Island, such as Patchogue, Bayshore, and even Riverhead, have managed to rebuild, and they're thriving. There's no reason why Hampton Bays cannot be the next town to be a great place to come and visit. So thank you for this.
Thank you. And I did get one more card just handed to me. Vincent Moore.
How you doing? My name's Vinnie Moore. I live at 26 Norbury, 4 houses down from the Bel Air Cove. I have 2 kids in the school district, full-time, 16 and 14. I bought my house 20 years ago, restored it. The block is impeccable. I'm also 22 years in the FDNY. I'm a captain in the South Bronx. I was a fireman for 11 years in Harlem. I was a lieutenant in Far Rockaway. I've always worked in tough areas, okay? I know what's going on at the end of the block. It's been going on for 20 years, under your noses. Now, I've been in apartments in the United States where you wouldn't believe people live in, okay? They're despicable, horrible. And things the way they go, that's fine. My wife is a physical therapist for 20 years and has done home cares down at this facility. I'm telling you right now, I'm a guy who's on the ground. I know what's going on down there. It's about time this changes. I don't care what you do with it. You're doing the right thing. Keep it going. I have 3 jobs. It's very expensive for me to be here, whatever. Everyone's time is very valuable. I'm here to tell you, I appreciate what you're doing. You got to do something.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank
It's
you.
on the ground, it's bad.
All right, those are the only 2 cards I had on Bel Air. Is there anyone else who wanted to be heard? Janice?
I was just going to say, you have a pending Planning Commission meeting and Planning Board referral as well.
Okay, so how much time, maybe, what I'd like to do is make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the record open,
That's fine.
so we can, get the comments, and we can leave the written record open for public comments too, but certainly the planning board
And the Planning Commission.
Planning Commission.
and the planning commission. You said there was a referral to the planning board too?
Suffolk County Planning
Yes,
Commission.
we did refer the
Have a
matter.
meeting.
Oh, just planning commission, not both?
And the planning board. right?
We did, we referred it to the Planning Board for their comment as well, although it's not required because it's not a Chapter 330 amendment, but we thought you would,
2 weeks
you know.
enough?
When does the
When is
commission meet?
we're meeting on the planning commission next week, I think?
Yeah,
Yes, maybe
8 days from now.
6th.
the 6th it is, right? Yeah,
it's up to you.
the next meeting.
2 weeks?
That's enough.
At least 2 weeks.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the record open for written comments for 2 weeks.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's the only public hearing tonight. So we're going to go to public portion. I have a number of cards. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to make their comments known. The clerk will let you know when you're down to your last 30 seconds. I will try to take these in the order they were received. Gloria and Burke, you're up first. Are you getting a phone call?
No, she's getting
Texting?
notes.
to read something.
Getting a quick text out.
I'll have a pizza.
I'm about to speak. Put it a town board.
Yeah. All right, it's telling me I have to get on this, on the,
The server?
and I was on it, but it
But do
died.
you have like a teleprompter
trying to
app
get-
on there? They make those.
I was all set up, but then the phone shut down. In any case, I'm Gloria Burke, and I'm co-chair of the Sustainability Committee, and I'm here to talk about the enabling legislation for CCA. And one of our young new members of the committee who's been getting involved isn't able to be here tonight, so she emailed me her statement, so that's why I was trying to get the phone up and ready. My name is Ella Engel Snow, which that is her, and I am in support of the community choice aggregation. I am having a hard time understanding why we wouldn't take this next step, as it isn't binding, but rather an opportunity to what Southampton Supervisor Schneiderman has said he wants to do, our homework. How is this not the natural thing, the next step in doing our homework? Often we can't get concrete answers unless we take the next steps towards investigating. I think that change is hard, but we have to. We have to change our individual behaviors around energy and consumption and waste. But we also have to see leadership by our government, including this town board, by creating legislation that supports these changes. And I just want to acknowledge the recent good work, approving the ban on plastic straws, stirrers, and containers made of styrofoam. I think she spoke at the town meeting in Hampton Bays. I also want to end briefly mentioning cost. From my understanding, it sounds like we have a real opportunity to lower utility costs, and yes, that would be great, but I think we need to change the conversation around cost. The reality is that our entire planet is facing environmental crisis. Climate change scientists are discussing how much longer we have until our planet is uninhabitable, and we in Southampton live on the end of an island that is going to be increasingly vulnerable as the climate crisis gets worse. This is just our reality. So for me, the conversation has to include a larger view of cost. Maybe we should be asking ourselves, what do we value? Do we value our natural resources? Do we value our lives? Do we value our children's lives? I understand that cost is important, and I deeply believe in affordability. I work in affordable housing, but from my understanding, the CCA would allow us more power to be innovative and to transition into more renewable energy sources, which is my main point. Excuse me, I'm having allergy issues. Because if we don't lower our fossil fuel consumption, we're going to have a whole lot more to worry about than the cost of electricity. From my own perspective, I would have said what she said differently, but I totally echo the sentiments, specifically looking at the next step, which is to pass the enabling legislation. It doesn't do anything except give us the opportunity to legitimately ask questions and see if we can make this work. So both Ella and I would like to see you say yes to this proposal. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lauren and Ella. All right, Tip Brolin?
Good evening. My name is Tim Brolin. I'm a resident of Watermill. I wish to register my support for the resolution on your agenda to establish a community choice aggregation energy program. I spent much of my career working for utilities. That is, they were my clients. So I think we can make money by doing this. This program offers the potential to reduce our electricity rates and/or meet the town's goal of supplying all of our electricity needs from renewable energy. The resolution does not commit the town to implement the program, but merely to investigate whether we should proceed to the next steps of the process. There's no risk to passing the resolution and possibly significant potential gain to all of us from passing it. So I urge its passage.
Thank you, Tip.
Thanks, Tip.
Thank you.
Thanks for the tip. All right. Ronald Fisher?
Hi, my name is Ron Fisher. I'm president of Flanders Riverside Northampton Community Association. I wanted to touch on three things. You have a resolution here that gives us a community service grant, so we're hoping that you're passing that, and we want to thank you. We're going to use that money to maintain and beautify the traffic circle, the new county traffic circle in Riverside. The second one, you've got a resolution to extend the contract with the Butterfly Effect Project and continue funding it. We're speaking in support of that as well. That group is doing really important outreach efforts in Flanders and Riverside, educating homeowners and renters on programs that are available to upkeep the house, to refinance mortgages, everything from refinancing student loans and bettering their credits. So that's real grassroots on the ground work, and I appreciate that you guys are doing that. I'm also speaking in favor of the CCA enabling legislation. I want to echo what's already been said. We see no downside to exploring this, and it's something that we're excited about. Now, taking off the Franca hat, you have a resolution that will see building permits issued to properties, not owners. I would like to see something similar for signs. My profession is a sign maker. We have to do a lot of work over and over again when a business vacates a spot to get a sign permit. So it would be nice if the permit could follow the building and not the business. It would allow us to keep the same dimensions and just change the face, that we can go before ARB to approve the design instead of having to go before the building department and re-engineer it for things that have already been approved previously. So if you'll consider a similar change for signs, that would be a big help.
Who wants to take that one on?
Okay.
Anybody?
And lastly, for the urban renewal, I think the Brewster House on Flanders Road would be an incredible project in our area, similar to what you're doing in Hampton Bays. It's a pre-existing non-conforming use. There's all sorts of risks associated with redeveloping that. Since you guys closed the public hearing 2 years ago to tear it down and deemed it safe, it's flipped hands twice to two different developers who then found out that, they couldn't really do what they wanted. It's on the market again. So something like that in our area, it's our biggest blight on the main road, on Flanders Road. It's huge. They cut all the trees. Everybody can see it. And there's another site in Riverside, but outside the overlay district. The Parkview Mobile Home Community owns a blighted warehouse. They've been looking to redevelop it. And a plan like this would really help spur development of both of those properties. So we just ask that you consider that. And thank you. Everything's going really well. Thanks.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. Next, and I'll try to get this right. How many times have I tried? Okay, ready? Dieter van Leesten. No, still wrong? Leesten. Leesten. Dieter van Leesten. I did it.
Or Dieter.
I'm Dieter von Leesten from the Sustainability Committee.
He still does it better than me.
And
Make it sound so easy.
you see, the only reason why we are having all these laws in front of you, that you learn my name.
I know. I'm going to have to take separate lessons from you. See?
I hope you're not getting bored of flabbergasted that every few months you're seeing us from the committee in front of you to pass another law. But rest assured, before we come in front of you to give you the decision in hand what to do with another law, we do due diligence to find out what is the advantage of the law and what does the law do to us. And if you look at the two last laws which we put in front of you, both around the plastic bags, and now the styrofoam, etc., obviously the important part is that these laws made sure that there is no more plastic around. But these laws, at the same time, have a little inconvenience always for the citizens to abide by it, changing their habits, etc. And the laws, on the other hand, are designed strictly to get somebody out of the job. That is, the job who is going to lose out here, it's Christine Scalera, for she will eventually not have her clean up days on the beach anymore if there's no more plastic.
Oh, we're going to keep it going.
Now, coming to this last law, CCA, that's the one which should be the easiest for you to pass. There's no obligations attached to this law. It's an enabling law. And what it does is, or what it has built in, is the opportunity to do something for what's in it for all of us. Possibly, first of all, most importantly, actually, is that renewable energy is coming in, which helps us towards our target for 100% renewable, which is the target of the town. The second thing is that for each of us, it could give us a financial advantage by getting cheaper energy. But to get there, the first step is we need to have the legislation passed to enable us to do these things and finally get a seat on the table of LIBA PSEG, who, as a monopoly, is doing what the hell they want with us. So please pass it. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieter.
Thank you, Dieter.
Dieter is the easy part. All right. All right. Ann Reisman? We'll find out. It's R-E-I. Not R-I.
Just to add to the confusion, it's Reisman.
I asked her.
I told
okay,
him
so
that.
here's the thing, and I have a German last name, so I should be able to do all these, but it's R-E-I.
That's right.
So I said to John, because I thought it was Reisman, it is, but.
And I said
or
Reisman.
EI,
Answer to all these permutations, but it's Reisman
it's Reisman.
next time.
Okay, now, that's what my thought was, but with the EI, I thought it must be Reisman.
Or Ann.
I answered to everything, so. My name is Ann Reisman, and I'm a long-term resident of North Sea, and I've been involved for many years in North Sea projects and energy projects. And you'll be relieved to know that tonight I'm here to say thank you. I want to say thank you for 2 projects that the town board has worked on through the years and that now have resolutions on the board, on the agenda. First one is the historic Tupper Boathouse. For those of you who aren't as familiar as we all are with the historic Tupper Boathouse, the purpose of it is to honor the long history and maritime character of North Sea Harbor, with emphasis on the Tupper boat building business and family and North Sea community. A nonprofit North Sea Maritime Center has been created by some community members to provide programming to support the Tupper Boathouse historic purpose once the building's renovated for use. A lot of people, especially focused in the North Sea area, have put a lot of time on this, including a couple people here on the town board. But this road to reconstruction and renovation has been complicated and lengthy. You in the town hall and we in the community have kept marching forward. But tonight, we do have really the first big step in the resolution to get out a bid package for the first phase of the Tupper Boathouse reconstruction. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Christine Fetton, who somehow had to pull all these threads together and get this going. It was not easy. So thank you, Christine, and thank you, Julie and John, and the rest of you on the board that have worked with us. So I urge you to vote for Resolution 2019-270, and let's start this process. The other one I wanted to talk about was the Community Choice Aggregation Energy Project. There's nothing much, there's nothing I can tell you that you don't know already from others that have told you about this. But what I can say is that I think the CCA program is a forward-looking program that you can adopt and that you should adopt. Because once adopted, it can be used to provide eligible town electricity consumers with a choice of electricity suppliers. This choice would give then a really powerful tool for the town to use in meeting their 100% renewable sourced electricity goal by 2025. And Frank, my opinion is I don't honestly see how you're going to get there from here without adopting this. So I urge you to vote for that resolution tonight as well. But meanwhile, thank you for getting us to this point in both areas.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
All right, Cray Van Sickle, a name I could say.
Well, wait a minute.
No, I know Cray. We go back. How are you?
I guess I just want to start out by saying, thank you for leading the charge. I'm talking about CCA. I'm a little jealous coming from the East Hampton Sustainability Committee. You guys are leading in this, but bringing it out and making it a conversation is really great. I'm very appreciative. I just wanted to read a little bit from. I made a couple of trips. I actually went to a CCA conference in San Diego about what's going on in California. There are 9 operational CCAs and many more coming online in California. And it says giving customers options and municipalities control, which I think is really the key component to this. And they're set to have exponentially more Californians. In fact, according to the advocacy group, blah, 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 an estimated 2.6 million customers are currently under CCA, and the numbers could grow to more than 80% of California's ratepayers. in the late 220s. That's the same statistic that I was heard when I was out there. Los Angeles Community Choice launched in February. In June alone, Solana Energy, Valley Clean Energy Alliance, East Bay Community Energy, a bunch of different CCAs have been launched out there. And in particular, I've been in touch with the people from East Bay Community Choice, and they spearheaded a non-wires alternative project that I think holds a lot of similarities to a situation that we have here, where they replaced 165 megawatts of peaker plants. Instead of bringing in more power lines at the cost of $280 to $500 million, for $40 million, they were able to get a suite of renewable energy resources that met that same demand that the peaker plants were retired, and what the wires would have otherwise done. As you are aware, LIPA's plan is to bring in $500 million of new transmission, which they have to do in association with Deepwater Wind and or to manage peak power. And I think that our ability to have a statement about our destiny with regard to those power lines would be greatly enhanced by having CCA, or even by the fact that we're talking about it should help us to be able to be taken seriously. And the reason why that I think is so important is because of the resilience that we can build with local, distributed, redundant, self-sufficient energy systems that also provide jobs and would help us not only reduce the emissions, but also brace for prepare for uninterrupted power during emergencies when single point of failure transmission lines, which are vulnerable, get hit. So there's a lot of, the CCA is a really great tool for this, as well as I think the objective of building resilience into the community as a system that does two things at once. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, Gray. Thank you. Good to see you. All right, Steve Abramson.
Good evening. Steve Abramson, Watermill CAC. I spoke at the last meeting in Hampton Bays on behalf of the CAC to endorse the CCA program, which is really an alternative power choice program, and people should, in our community, really get behind it. We're happy that you're leading it. At least we hope you're going to vote this through tonight. You can imagine that the east end of Long Island might be able to lead all of New York State in this direction by becoming independent with our goal of 2025. Again, I agree that this program is going to be essential for us to be able to achieve that result. And beyond this, if we really value the concept of energy independence, we have to be free to explore wherever that might lead us. And in this case, you're just voting to explore whether this is potentially something that will really be truly valuable for us to have. And you can imagine fixing the rates so that we have lower rates, fixing the rates so that there are no increases that LIPA can force down our throats in the future, that they can't have peak consumption, charge us for oil usage in the summertime when it can sometimes be a surcharge. They wouldn't even have that. And you can freeze that for 10 years or more for people. It would be an essentially good economic move for all. And these electrons some of them will be built out here, hopefully, but they will be built all over New York State. It's kind of like the old movie where it was, if you build it, they will come. If you produce the demand for this, people will build solar on their farms upstate and contract for it with us to shoot those electrons into the grid for our purposes. They will build small hydro in other places on streams that exist that are capable of this in New York State to produce power for us. And we will lead the way for New York State, which really has to get there. We all have to get there. The country has to get there. And we can be first and make it big. And that's it, so I hope you'll pass it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, batting cleanup, Lynn Arthur.
Lynn Arthur, Energy Chair, Sustainability Committee, and also North Sea resident. Back in November, when we had the first public hearing, a couple of board members were very enthusiastic about the outreach. And what I want to report to you tonight, that the committee has delivered 26 face-to-face presentations to various community groups with pretty much unanimous support. We've delivered to the town clerk, I believe, 24 letters with approximately 300 signatures. And it's been a very positive experience. I just want to add to that, as a resident, I want to thank you for your leadership in a broader sense. You know, in the work session in the fall, we did a meeting concerning the policies and programs that the town board has invested in. And because of the great press that we've been getting on CCA, there's been a lot of discussion from surrounding municipalities. But the key thing is, that I want to say at this point, is these municipalities that are adjacent to ours are recognizing your leadership. They are talking about implementing, as you know, in East Hampton, as an example, they've adopted our HERS rating, our building code. They have mimicked our program that we defined combining rooftop solar and home energy efficiency. Other municipalities have taken notice and they view these programs and policies as best practices, and they're now asking the Sustainability Committee to share this information. They'd like to adopt that as well. So the impact that you're having is not just within our borders, it's much broader. And as you know, the whole CO2, reducing our carbon footprint and reducing CO2 emissions is really the objective. Well, one of the key objectives, and your policies that you've supported very successfully is going region-wide. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Lynn, just a couple quick questions, which I'm sure you've anticipated, I'm sure. So, so can you just clear up for me this issue of, the authority for CCA and the PSC in terms of where it's authorized and where it's not? I was at a recent conference, as you know, and was told that CCA is authorized on Long Island for natural gas, but not for electricity. I did look up the, Exhibit 3, and that it doesn't list it as authorized, but through other people have told me that you've researched this and
Yes.
it is authorized.
Yes, well, the short
Or it could be
answer,
it could-
the
or it
short
could be
answer is
authorized.
yes. There's two questions in there. We did contact, there in Albany at the Public Service Commission, there is a specialist, and she takes all the calls on CCA across the state. As recently as Friday, one of your staff members did speak with her, and she assured us that there is absolutely no reason why we cannot, that legislation, CCA, is available to all municipalities everywhere in New York State, including Zone K, which is where we are. So there's no, it's authorized everywhere. So anyone who says that that's not the case or is questioning that needs, in fact.
Well, it was the CCA administrator who said they couldn't do it where we are because it wasn't authorized.
Well, we've directed that, there's been a conversation with that person since then, and that person has been directed to the same source
Okay.
at the Public Service Commission.
Okay, good.
And, yeah, so I think it's a misunderstanding.
Okay.
And in fact, if I could, in the enabling legislation, in enabling order, I'm sorry, it's a PSC order, there's an appendix that lists something a little bit different, and I think they're misinterpreting. So in this appendix, it lists all the default suppliers in the state that have an opt-out function. So, for example, in Westchester, actually in the 10 other zones, there's 11 zones of electricity in New York State. In the 10 other zones, they have competition. So they have an opt-out feature so that if you are in, I guess, in Westchester and you get your electricity from Con Ed, you can opt out and get it from another supplier, like in this case, Constellation. If you are in the NYSEG, served by NYSEG, you can opt out and get it from one of their competitors. It turns out on Long Island, though, there is no, what would you opt out to? So you see, LIPA currently does not have an opt-out feature. However, we had a conference call, many members of your staff, about a week and a half ago, and actually it was Tom Falcone himself who was on the phone, on the call with us.
Tom Falcone is the
CEO of LIPA. And the conversation was very positive.
I did have a conversation with him as well.
And he did in the call.
He was very positive about it.
He did in the call tell us about all the programs that they have that are similar to CCA. He asked us specifically what we want. He said that they would work with us to make that happen, and he also said he would, talk with us about how to accommodate an opt-out feature. But they don't have an opt-out feature today, so the misinterpretation comes from the fact that LIPA is not currently listed in this appendix of the order, but the appendix of the order is specifically stating that they have an opt-out feature.
Right.
So the misunderstanding on
I
this.
noticed they refer to opt-in features and opt-out. In some areas it's opt-in, some areas it's opt-out.
Well, the program is an opt-out model, so everyone, theoretically, when we finally get the program on its feet, maybe a year from now, after we go through all the steps, the Public Service Commission, has to approve the plan.
They do have to approve, and the LIPA
Absolutely.
board has to approve?
Yeah, well, we would have to enter into negotiation with LIPA, and we've kind of already started that with this meeting. They've said, yeah, we're willing to work with you to work this out, but what we need is the CCA administrator to help us because the town staff doesn't have the skills, the experience. And, we have these expert, which maybe some of them are in the room right now, but we have this access to expert resources to assist the town, in having these discussions with the utility.
Now, the administrators, my understanding from talking to other administrators, that they all sort of work on a kilowatt basis. They get a tiny fraction for each kilowatt used. Do they all work that way?
That is actually
So the
the
more
question.
energy used, the more money they make, or?
Well, the PSC order specifies that once a contract has been negotiated and agreed to, there is an administrative function that has to continue. And it's specified in the contract, the rate at which the CCA administrative organization, it's a few people, like in Westchester's case, I think it's somewhere between 4 and 6 people, it's a staff that needs to be funded, and it's self-funding through the program. And it's something like, this is no secret, it's like 1/10 of a penny for every kilowatt hour that bills through the system.
Right, so I don't know how much that is in dollars, right? So,
Well, that's part of our process.
but that's why I've said I'd be, more inclined toward a not-for-profit CCA. So
Absolutely.
somebody wasn't making additional money off of additional consumption.
Yeah, that's been our what we've been talking about. Our vision of it is certainly that it would
And
be
that's also-
not-for-profit.
It's like adding another layer in there. We don't know what the rate will be, and rate does matter. I know that for a lot of people, including myself, purchasing it from renewable resources is critical. But I think rate matters for a lot of our residents. I think we want the best of both worlds. We want,
Absolutely.
equal rates or lower rates possibly, and we want a higher percentage of, of renewable energy in the mix.
Absolutely.
Maybe 100%
Yeah.
renewable, as somebody said tonight, trying to meet that goal. So, yeah, but, getting back to like the not-for-profit model, I think I would feel more comfortable with the not-for-profit there.
Well, could I
just add one last thing, John? And the other issue that came up with this, it was with a different CCA or a different individual, And he said, even if you had a CCA, it would be very hard for us to get you that lower price. And he started going on about, I guess, the different players and the different regulations in our area, which, you know, there's a base price per kilowatt, but then there's all these fees on top of it that, you know, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't go through the process. We could go through the process and then we could see if it's,
Yeah, there's no promise.
you know, you know,
Absolutely.
I want to manage expectations because, you know, maybe we'll get a better price, but according to this one individual, he thought that was unlikely that we'd get a better price, but we certainly won't know until we try.
Absolutely, and it's really all speculation. Look at what's happening around us. The governor just tripled the commitment from the state for offshore wind.
Right.
So now there's theoretically 9,000 megawatts of offshore wind. The promise of that market is that the price point is going to be much lower. All those offshore wind farms, wherever they may end up, not to put any, you know, fear into certain groups, but wherever they end up, that's going to be a market of renewable energy resource that promises to have a much lower price. That
Could we
becomes
get-
accessible to us as a CCA to buy at a
So,
wholesale rate.
Could I jump in? Because
Go ahead, Jim.
I think it's important to note that part of what we're doing here is enabling our ability to answer those exact questions. And we have a year and a half of really hard work in front of us to
Yeah.
get to that point. At any point along the way, if we may realize that it makes absolutely no sense for us to do that. Relative to the ambiguity, perceived ambiguity in the law, I know I was on that conference call with PSEG and with LIPA individuals, and they actually presented to us their version of CCA and wanted to work with us to do that. But we also had met with Assemblyman Thiel from the state because we recognize that state legislation is a big part of this. We have his support in this regard and also his desire to provide clarifying legislation should it be required if there is any ambiguity in the law itself.
No, and I did speak with Ed Romaine as well, Supervisor in Brookhaven, and Laura Gillum, Supervisor in Hempstead, and there was some interest in, these are very large municipal entities. Hempstead and Brookhaven are two of the largest towns in the country. But I do think, John, though, that at least making sure that it is authorized is a critical step before we even start doing all this work, so that at least if we have.
That is the work.
No, it is authorized, though.
It is.
It is
No,
authorized.
if it wasn't authorized, then we'd be doing all the work in vain. But to have at least a reasonable belief that at the end of this, it is a
I think we
legal
have-
thing.
Yeah, I think
We're
that's-
there.
allowed to
We're
do
there.
it. So that's-
PSC is told,
That had to be vetted.
We've
prior.
had PSC tell us.
they
that
told us.
That's
Yeah,
it.
It's
the
authorized.
other issues, I think you're right, is we can find out down the road the answers to those questions. But that fundamental question
And that was the
had to
purpose of
be
the call
understood
that we had.
before we
Yeah.
could move
As sure
forward.
as I'm standing here, it is authorized.
Okay,
There is,
well, you're definitely standing there.
So, don't sit down.
What we have before us is enabling legislation, and other municipalities can do it. So, under New York State Home Rule law, we should, at least in theory, be able to do what other municipalities can do.
can I go now? I'm sorry, that's a joke.
Okay, any other questions for Lynn? No, thank you for doing the due diligence.
Oh,
and
yeah.
For getting
It's-
out there into the community like we asked, and
It's been my
you've
pleasure,
been appearing everywhere.
everywhere. Any three people that we can get to sit still for at least 15 minutes,
More Lynn Arthur Simons than the ghost of Elvis, I guess.
thank you so much.
Good.
Well, I actually, before you go, I did want to thank you personally and Sustainability Committee. This committee has worked really hard on this. When you first approached us a couple of years ago, it's been that long. I think we all did our diligence. I spent a long time calling other municipalities that have implemented this, and
Yeah.
it was a slow haul because it's a complicated subject. And it's complicated to
Yes.
understand. And I think you've done a really excellent job in explaining that to the public and to us as well, that I'm feeling very, very comfortable with where we're headed, and I intend to support my own legislation and ask others to co-sponsor it.
Thank you again for your leadership.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, that was the last card. Was there anyone else who is here who wishes to be heard in public portion, who did not fill out a card? Going once, twice, 3 times. All right, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we will now move on to town board resolutions. Do you want to do any of this out of order? You want to do the CCA one out of order?
Sure, I'd make a motion to do that.
Well, give me a page at least.
It is
43,
40,
44.
All right, so page 44, so,
And also,
Council,
if I may, Supervisor, at the last meeting, I had offered sponsorship to the legislation from other council people, and Councilman Lofstad and Councilman Schiavone had asked to be on, co-sponsor the legislation. I'd be happy to co-sponsor that with my fellow board members.
Thank you, Councilman.
all right, so let's just make sure the clerk, you have that co-sponsored with Councilman Lofstad and Councilman Schiavone? All right, so Councilman Bouvier is making a motion to take 285 of 2019 out of order. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. And now Councilman Bouvier is making a motion to approve,
To approve.
and where's the second?
Second?
Seconded from Councilman Lofstad. So this is a resolution of adoption and acting Town Code Chapter 139 to establish a community choice aggregation energy program. And as it's been said, I guess I'll speak on the motion. This is not a commitment to do it, but a commitment to fully vet it, to move forward, get all the information we need, and go out to bid potentially to energy suppliers, and to work with LIPA and to access the records we need to be able to see what our consumption is in our community. And it doesn't really preclude us from joining with other bulk purchasers, like towns like East Hampton or Brookhaven, if they so desire, or Hempstead. This would allow us to basically contract with a CCA administrator to do all the work. And
And I think it's already seeing benefits in having a seat at the table and having those conversations with LIPA that you've had, which is great.
let me also point out, and this is also from my discussions with various individuals, that even if it doesn't turn out that we can get a significantly lower price, or that there still may be some benefits to having a CCA in terms of microgrids, solar arrays and things like that, that we may be able to more expeditiously promote those types of things within our community.
And discouraging the peaker plans.
Well, it
And,
incentivizes us to look at alternative energy sources for our community.
and we also can look at natural gas as well as under the CCA too. And maybe there's a way to get better pricing on natural gas. A lot of people now are using natural gas. So I see a lot more benefit than I see detriment. I don't actually see a downside to it. But I do want to manage expectations. And I know I asked some of the hard questions, but that's my job, right? I want to make sure that we know what we're getting into, and I know the whole board feels that way. So I appreciate all the answers that we've gotten and the candor and the research that's gone into this. This is a fairly complicated thing, and other municipalities have done it. We would be the first on Long Island to do it, so the first in our region. So it is groundbreaking here. So John, thank you for bringing it forward. Anyone else on it?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Councilman Bouvier for all of the work that he has done. I'm proud to co-sponsor this bill with John and Julie. This gives the town a variety of options with our energy, and if we are serious about meeting our renewable goal for 2025, we need options. So I wholeheartedly support this bill. I think it speaks volumes that the two largest towns in the state of New York have contacted us about this particular plan, to say nothing of, what's the gentleman's name? Tom Falcone? We got to speak to him, so I'm in support of the bill. Thank you.
And thank you for the kind words, Councilman.
Can I just point out, Lynn Arthur's done a tremendous amount of work, but Frank Sapone, my deputy supervisor,
Oh, he's
Frank
there. I didn't
Sapone,
see you, Frank.
is here,
Yeah.
and he also has done a tremendous amount of work in conjunction with bringing the CCA legislation forward. And sometimes had to deal with me asking all those tough questions and going, look into this, look into that. So he's been great in terms of advancing this. Anyone else? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
All right, to the top.
Anything you want to take out of order besides that?
Is there anything else anybody wants out of order?
Oh, Tupper Boathouse.
Oh, Tupper Boathouse? All right. All right, Ann. For Howard, my pickleball partner, and Steve Abramson is here. We could, one more, we could have a game of pickleball, right?
Do you know where it is?
Never give that up.
No, it's, I see these guys in the mornings.
It's,
Great.
page
It's a lot of
6.
fun.
Oh, no,
Page
sorry. It is,
No?
All right, where are we? Page 6?
no, I was wrong. I don't have it noted.
And do you know what page it is? Or what number?
242?
Somebody
240.
find it, Tupper Boathouse.
242? No. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Page 34.
All right. All right, so, John, you want to make a motion to take it out of order?
I will make such a
All right,
motion.
motion by Councilman Bouvier to take Resolution 270, 2019 out of order. It's a notice to bidders for stabilization, lifting, and partial reconstruction of the Tupper Boathouse.
Second?
Second to take it out of order by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, same motion, same second on the approval.
Yes.
Any discussion? This is to go out to bid.
Yes.
All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
All right.
Congratulations. Now you can go home, unless you want to stay. All right, and Donna, we can't do the other one because the record is still open for 2 weeks, right? On the Bel Air.
Planning Commission input.
So we closed the hearing, but we left the public record open. We need the comments of the Suffolk County Planning Commission, and we need the comments of potentially Planning Board. So I know you're anxious, I am too.
We all are.
Oh, good. Good. I think we are getting there.
2 weeks?
2 weeks. It's what is it, what meeting?
March 6th is the meeting, so when is?
A meeting with the Planning Commission
I
on
think
March
the-
6th, and we have a meeting on March 12th.
March 12th meeting. It'll be eligible for a vote at the March 12th meeting. Okay? Thank you for your patience.
I flew here all the way from Nassau County.
Oh,
Did you?
Yeah, but she's a Penny Lane resident.
oh. So
Okay.
you were coming this way.
And I take it you support what we're doing? Okay.
Wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Please, I'll get the dumpster.
All right. Get home safely. All right. All right, to the top, yes? All right, so 1029 of 18, which is the Bel Air one, authorize the acquisition of property located at 20 Shinnecock Road, Hampton Bays, for purpose of community development. I have to table. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilman
To the next
Scavone.
town board meeting?
Yeah, to March 12th. Right?
Wisdom.
All right, seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor? Aye. So that's tabled. Moving on to, you know what? Should we do the walk-on packets and get them, or let's add the walk-on packets to the agenda now, and then we'll just run right through them. All right, so let's hold off on the agenda. There are 5 walk-ons. 31246, 31248, 31263, 31268, 31271. The first one authorizes the Town Planning and Development Administrator to attend the American Shoreline and Beach Preservation Association's Resilience Coast Conference. Second is the warrant. The third is accepts contribution from the town of East Hampton toward advertising and marketing for the South Fork Commuter Connection. The next one authorizes the supervisor to sign amendment to contract with AMEC E&E PC for environmental consulting services at Damascus Road landfill site. And the last one rejects bids for construction of the bathroom at Good Ground Park. All right, I'll make a motion to add those 5 to our agenda. Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so that's part of our agenda now. 238, authorized purchase and installation of access control and lock rekey of Town Hall with Suffolk Lock and Security Professionals, Inc., using the New York State contract.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 239 of 2019, authorized to purchase of 2 Kenworth T370 from Gabrelli Truck Sales LTD using NJPA Sourcewell contract.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 219-240 authorizes supervisor to sign a contract extension for Waste Zero to supply and distribute garbage bags.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 241 is an authorization for the supervisor to sign a contract extension with Mohawk Ice Cream for the mobile food concession at New Cox Beach. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Mohawk Ice.
approved. Makes me think of summer already. Right?
Yeah.
Town Board Resolution 242 of 2019 to authorize the purchase of trackless sidewalk snowplow from HGAC by Cooperative.
That's for highway there. Okay, and seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 2019-243 authorizes supervisor to enter into an agreement with Interdyne, AKA, for the configuration of a tax receiver financial company.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 244 of 19, co-sponsored by Councilman Bouvier, authorizes the supervisor to execute a 2019 contract with Chaliff and Rogers Architects for Tiana Life Saving Station.
Second.
Hold on. Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. And this is for the interior, right?
Yes.
Because the exterior's done. I actually drove by it today. It's
This is,
unbelievable.
Beautiful.
It's looking, yeah, it's phase 2, the interior.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really worth a trip over there down Dune Road to see it. Okay, so there was a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Resolution 245 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a 2019 Park District Grant Agreement with Hampton Bays Historical Society.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 246 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a 2019 Park District Grant with Hampton Bays Beautification Association for the maintenance and upkeep of the Main Street Business District. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Resolution 247 authorizes the supervisor to execute a 2019 Parking District Grant with Hampton Bays Beautification Association for the maintenance and upkeep of the Main Street Business District and public parking areas.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Resolution 248 authorizes the supervisor to execute a 2019 Park District Grant with the Watermill Village Improvement Association for the beautification and cultural development of the Watermill Hamlet Center.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 249 authorizes the supervisor to execute a 2019 Park District Grant with Watermill Community Club for the beautification and cultural development of the Watermill Community Club. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Speed reading.
Aye.
Aye, approved. Good.
Resolution 250 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a 2019 Park District Grant with Watermill Museum for the maintenance and upkeep of the Watermill Museum.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 251 is an authorization for the supervisor to sign a 2019 Bridgehampton Park District Grant Agreement with the Bridgehampton Museum, formerly known as Bridgehampton Historical Society.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 252 authorizes the supervisor to execute a 2019 retainer agreement with Peter Johnson Esquire to provide tax certiorari services.
Certiorari.
Second.
Certiorari.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
approved. All right, 253, authorize the supervisor to execute a 2019 service agreement with Motorola Solutions for the radio systems, tower, and communication at the town's police department.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 254 authorizes the supervisor to execute a new 5-year agreement with Bell Communications, Inc. for the alarm system located at 399 Mill Road in West Hampton.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 255 of 19 authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract amendment with Gentile, Pismetti, and Brengel LLP to perform independent audits of the ambulance districts within the town of Southampton.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 256, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with East End Legal Service, Inc. to provide process serving to the town.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 257 awards and authorizes the supervisor to sign contracts with J&G Awards and Sports and NYS Industries for the disabled part for embroidered and silk screen clothing. Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
I approve. 258, Flanders Riverside and Northampton Community Association 2019 Community Services Grant.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. This is a $5,000 grant for Franca to do the plantings in the circle. Welcome co-sponsors. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody else want to?
Sure, I'll co-sponsor.
All right. John, you want to be on this too?
I'm sorry, was just, who else are you adding?
Oh, I thought,
258.
actually, I thought I
Right.
was. Yes, I was.
So can we add Councilman Bouvier and Councilman Schiavone as co-sponsors on 258, and it was approved. Go ahead.
Town Board Resolution 219-259 to recall and amend the 2019-204 to correct 2018 Notice of Adoption of Final Local Solid Waste Management Plan.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Scalera. Just on the motion, was this something that Lucy Dunn was involved in with the solid waste committee?
No, this was actually a secondary requirement by the DEC for a
Oh.
language change, essentially.
Oh, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. I know that the solid waste committee, though, they're involved with that whole swap plan, the solid waste
Absolutely, yeah.
management plan. so-
Yep, and Lucy, I'm going to miss her a lot. She was quite a force in the group.
So that's Tommy John, you're up next, right?
If you're done.
Yeah.
Sounded like. Town Board Resolution 260 of 2019 to recall and rescind Resolution 2018-1180, authorize supervisor to execute a contract extension for liquid caustic soda.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 261 of 19, resolution authorizing the purchase of one Ford F-150.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor? Aye, approved.
Resolution 262 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with the vehicle tracking systems for the town police. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Everybody is co-sponsored with everybody.
No,
Except me.
except-
I'd like to
John.
be added.
I didn't mean to leave you out.
You left me out.
Sorry. So I would move to add John as a co-sponsor as well.
Second?
You don't need, just, you can just add on, but was
No,
there
I
a
was-
second
I
on it?
was
You were
second,
seconding the
yeah.
resolution, okay, seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. All right, 263, co-sponsored with Councilwoman Scalera, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Curvature, Inc. for hardware maintenance for town's police department.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Scalera, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 219-264 to authorize the supervisor to sign an amendment with Palmanock Environmental LLC for removal of municipal waste from the town.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 265, authorizes the purchase of security services from GSA Contract and Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract with Summit Security for Southampton Town Hall.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
I approve. 266 of 19, authorizes the supervisor to execute a contract amendment with the Butterfly Effect Project for community outreach and education services.
I would proudly second that. It's a great organization.
Would you like to co-sponsor as well?
Absolutely.
Let's go, Madam Clerk, if we could have John in as a co-sponsor. And this is a $2,400 grant? Is
No, I
this
think it's
CDBG?
more.
22.
22.
22.
22,000. What did I say, 200,000?
It's a contract extension.
It's a contract extension. It's additional sum of 22,400. Is that, what line is that from?
It's a restricted account.
It's from the contracts line, it's the GL
Yeah.
line, from the contracts line.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 267 is a 2019 notice to bidders for food concession commencing in 2019 summer season for a concession at Ponquag Beach in Hampton Bays.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 268 is a 2019 notice to bidders for mobile food concessions commencing in 2019 summer season for mobile concessions at Scott Cameron Beach.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 269 is a notice to bidders for the Shinnecock Maritime Park Phase 1A improvements.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm very excited about that. That's approved.
270 was taken out.
Okay, we did the next one. All right, 271, accepts donation from the Hampton Bays Chamber of Commerce to the Good Ground Park restricted account.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. This is a $2,500 donation to help us with the entertainment for the summer. Thank you to the Chamber. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 272, 2019 amends the 2018 adopted budget for various departments.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 273 to 19 amends the 2019 adopted budget for emergency preparedness.
Second.
This has to do with the
Damascus.
Damascus Road landfill site for environmental testing. So we actually have leftover there, so it's actually being shifted to emergency preparedness from the Damascus Road landfill.
No.
No?
The first sentence says we need to do it for that.
Let's see, okay.
It's just
There's a
fund
need to
balance.
create funding source for, okay, for environmental testing, okay. And there's a fund balance of 40,000.
It's kind of complicated
From-
because it says it's saying it
Yeah.
from emergency preparedness.
Right, for the Damascus Road landfill. It says increase. One of those should say decrease.
The Damascus landfill is not a fund, so it's just, it's saying we
It's
need
the
the money
site.
in emergency preparedness increase
Or
to
testing
fund
of
that.
I mean, you have an increase and an increase? A 40,000 increase in emergency preparedness, 40,000 increase in emergency preparedness.
I think it's just the GL, the contracts line, but I don't know.
One of them's probably a decrease, it's just shifting contracts. Frank, do you know anything about this? This is,
I don't know about the funding, Jay. It's about extending that contract so that we can,
Which you just authorized.
right. So the contract is expanding the role so we can apply for a brownfield cleanup fund
okay.
application.
Well, yeah, I'd say let's advance it.
You appreciate increasing fund balance, that's the first one. And then fund balance, you're going to fund the $40,000. That's why there's two increases.
So increasing contracts and then taking
Yeah.
from AFB.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You're appropriating fund balance.
Putting it
That's the
into.
first increase.
Or,
Well, I think that's, one of them should say decrease.
No,
Len isn't here. I mean, it should be neutral from a budgetary standpoint. One should be a decrease and one should be an increase.
no, it's not neutral, you're appropriating fund balance.
Right, so you're taking it from fund balance and you're adding it to the other.
Yeah,
So it's decreasing fund balance by 40,000 and increasing the other. All right.
Why don't you decrease it, and then if there's an issue, we'll bring it back.
Lennon has approved this, the comptroller's department.
I'm just saying there's likely a mistake there. I think
Maybe
it
just-
doesn't, it's
You can vote
not,
on it, just,
it's not
address
a,
the Scrivener's error if there's a Scrivener's.
it's a Scrivener's error, so we'll sort that out. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 274 of 19 amends the 2019 adopted budget for town assessor.
Second?
Second by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 275 amends the 2019 Parks and Recreational Fee Schedule.
Second. It's the concession.
This is for the
rate.
concession.
For
It's
the new-
going
for
up
the
from
new-
10,000 to 30,000, yeah.
For the
It's
new
still
facilities.
still a great deal.
It's going to be beautiful.
Uh,
There's a lot of improvement.
And that's going to be bid out. We bid that out, we're bidding that out, so that the minimum bid will be 30,000. Yeah, considering we're
And, yeah, we
spending
discussed
$3
this in our
million,
work
but
session.
they will have to fit out the kitchen area. That space is, I don't believe is part of the construction that we're doing. Doesn't include the kitchen equipment and things like that.
The equipment, right, but I thought we changed
The
the
exterior.
opening and stuff, so the
We did.
inside
So that it
changed a
could-
little bit too.
Yeah, so
The
it was
inside
enlarged.
changed a little bit,
Yeah.
but it has to be laid out by whoever the concessionaire is.
That's probably a plus, because then they get to do it
Yeah.
the way they works best for them.
All right, did I get a second on that?
I did, I seconded.
You
Seconded
did.
by Councilman Scalera, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 276 and 19, amends the 19 through 23 capital budget and adds capital project Southampton ambulance building.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone.
Didn't we do this in the, we didn't do this in the budget already? I thought we did this as part of the capital plan in the budget. I'm looking at you like you're lying.
It's just moving it from line to line.
You're the
so
translator, I expect you to.
We're moving it from contracts to expense.
Sunday's like, I'm done.
Interfund transfer expense. It's just moving 133 to the capital fund,
Yeah, no,
133,000.
I'll clear it up with him.
Okay, so, did you second it?
I didn't.
Would you?
Sure.
Okay. Or unless we already had a second. Did I have a
We
second?
already have a second.
Oh, who was the second? Councilman Scavone?
Tommy
Oh,
John.
Okay.
Okay,
I withdraw that.
okay. That was a third.
You're the second to the second.
Third. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. All right, 277 and 19 appoints Ronald J. White to Board of Assessment Review.
Second.
Second by Councilman Scavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 278 appoints Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee for 2019.
Second?
Second by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 279 and 19 reappoints members to the Conservation Board.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scalera, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 280 of 19 appoints Harry Ludlow Chair of the Conservation Board for 2019.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman
My
Bouvier.
old board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 281 appoints George Hine, Vice Chair of the Conservation Board for 2019.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 2019-282, co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone, appoint Stephanie McNamara, Chair of North Sea Citizens Advisory Committee.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 2019-283, appoint members to the Southampton, Tuckahoe, Shinnecock Hills Citizens Advisory Committee.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
approved.
Resolution 284 appoints co-chairs to Southampton, Tuckahoe, Shinnecock Hills CAC.
Second.
Co-sponsored with Councilman Lofted. I don't know why they were different.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 285, we
Which
did.
is out of order.
How far does that go?
To the end.
See page 50.
55.
50.
50.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was longer than it is.
You have it on 50.
All right, 50, oh, it's on,
Page,
I see it, page 50 of 286 of 2019. Notice of adoption of a local law to change the zoning classification from residential R40 to Hamlet Commercial Residential HC as proposed in the zone change application entitled 5 Cedar Lane LLC, Noyak.
Second.
Second by Councilman Scalera. All right, so this is Cromer's Market, and it was that back portion that has been used in conjunction with the market. We held numerous steps from the initial work session to the hearing on the zone change request. And I know there was some questions of people down that one, it's like dirt road over there. But in general, I think it was widely understood that this property was sort of used in conjunction with the market and creating this sort of split zone with the market, the market itself mostly being in commercial zoning, but the back not. So I think, based on the public comment, I think, I'm going to support the rezoning here. Anybody else on this? Did we have a second on it?
I did it.
Yeah.
Christine?
Tommy John, do you have any thoughts on this as you're in that?
Well,
neck of the woods?
we've had a number of public meetings on it. I know the CAC had, they were not in favor of this zone change. But it's clearly a need down there, and I'm going to support it and vote yes.
Anyone else? Have we heard from the Suffolk County Planning Commission on this? Have they said it's a matter of local determination? These zone changes.
It should say it in the resolution.
These zone changes get referred, and if they don't support them, they require supermajorities.
Yeah, where is it? Yeah. Yes, there's a whereas clause where the determined to be a matter of local jurisdiction.
Fourth
Okay.
whereas from the bottom.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, abstentions? Okay, zone change is approved. All right, 287 of 19, resolution to adopt amendments to Town Code 330-62, special permit procedure to establish fees for special permits in the Special Old Filed Map Overlay District.
Second.
Second by Councilman Scalera. I'm trying to remember exactly what this one did.
It just made the fees equal to that of the zoning board.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we held the hearing.
Yes, last meeting, February 26th.
Okay.
No, the
I think
12th.
it was presented by,
Today's the 12th.
All right.
I think that was one of the matters that was presented by Matt
Got it.
Godfrey.
Oh, today's the 26th.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Flying.
So,
All right.
Actually,
I don't
we were
think
in March already.
nobody,
We're lagging behind.
nobody spoke at that hearing, so, all right, so there was a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, approved. 288, resolution to amend Town Code 12310, issuance of a building permit to issue building permits to the property and not the applicant. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Councilman Scavone. Is there any discussion on this? This is something I think that was requested by the building department
Yeah.
initially, and because properties change hands, and we have the new owner and the permits issued to the former owner. So by doing this, it keeps the permit current. I thought Ron made an interesting point today,
with the
too,
signs,
about
yeah.
the signs. All right, so there's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Resolution 289 is an authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for Hampton Bays Beautification Association Concert Under the Stars on Sunday, August 11th, 2019, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Ponquag Beach Pavilion, Dune Road, and Hampton Bays.
Second.
It feels so springy. We're going on summer.
All right, so, I'm sorry, Councilman Lofstad, I think seconded.
Yes, you did.
All in favor?
Aye.
I approved.
Resolution 290 is an authorization for extension of time to pay real property taxes for persons who were furloughed or designated a non-pay federal employee due to the lapse in discretionary appropriations by the federal government.
Second.
How long would that?
Yeah,
How what?
seconded
What's the
by
timeframe?
Councilwoman Lofstad. On the motion, Councilman Scavone is asking for the timeframe.
June.
Well, this came about, Suffolk County extended the
Yeah.
time to pay.
Yeah, we're just trying to be consistent.
So this
with everybody,
models what
so
they
it's
do.
allowed for
And it was
people who are
not to
furloughed
exceed
or
a
whatever.
certain, here, 500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. These are, right, people who went without pay. Okay, I don't know how many people will be affected, federal employees in our area.
There have been a couple so far that have come in and requested it, so, I mean, we set aside up to $500. We don't expect it to be more than that, but obviously it makes a difference for those who wound up being late.
For that period of,
Yeah.
Is that they can, up to 500, is that?
Yep, not to exceed.
In aggregate, not, like an individual one was $28, one was, I mean, there were,
And does this
It-
cover
it-
contractors as well?
cover what?
Contractors to
Anybody who
federal
was
government?
furloughed or,
So we're waiving the late fees, right?
They were furloughed or designated as a non-paid federal employee. Yeah.
right.
Okay, yeah.
What is
Right.
the relief they're getting is an extended date to pay the taxes or just a waiver of the fees for being late?
I think both. I think you need both. 'Cause if you're late, you need an
They said
extension,
they
and
can
if
pay
you
up until
extension,
April
you're late.
25th, 2019.
Till, I'm sorry, Jim, April?
Looks like they're-
Yeah.
To pay until April 25th,
April 25th of 2019.
That answers your question.
the first
I was good with June.
half due, probably.
Right, and then what's the June date?
When it's
Make an application up until
expires on,
this is done.
Okay. All right, so there was a motion, a second, correct?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 291 of 2019 to authorize the sale of surplus highway equipment.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 292 is a cost reimbursement waiver for the Remsenburg-Spionk Union Free School District Annual Memorial Day Parade on May 24th, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 293 terminates employment of a certain individual management technician. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 294-19 appoints Brian Whitman to management technician position in public safety.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, that was seconded by Councilwoman Scalera, and it was approved. 295-19 appoints Brian Rundy to ordinance inspector position in investigations and enforcement unit,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad, that time?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 296 appoints Elizabeth Roy to senior justice court clerk position at Justice Court,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 297-19 appoints Stephen Troy to town code compliance and emergency management administrator position from the civil service list.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. I just want to congratulate all those individuals who just got appointed to various positions. 298-19 approves vacation carryover from 2018 to 2019 for CSEA members.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Resolution 2019-299, authorized Youth Bureau Director, Councilman Tommy John Scavone, and members of the Youth and Government Program to attend the YMCA High School State Assembly in Albany on March 15th to 17th, 2019.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
Approved.
you.
Resolution 300 of 2019 is a notice of public hearing to accept a grant of conservation easement in exchange for a development rights certificate for .43752 development rights.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 301 of 2019. Notice of public hearing to consider amending Chapter 312, Vehicles and Traffic of the Town Code to place no stopping restrictions on a portion of Wakeman Road in Hampton Bays.
Second. Second by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 302 of 19, notice of public hearing to consider the establishment of an underground utility improvement district.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. So this would be, this is in Noyak. This is that group of, I don't know, 20-odd homes
From Long Beach.
across from Long Beach that are seeking to use the recently approved ability to create underground utility districts. They filed a petition requesting this with, most of the property owners had signed that petition, so this would be the next step, is this notice of public hearing. All right.
When's
there's
the
a
public hearing? Just,
Public hearing,
March 26th.
March 26th. I'm just saying it for the public's benefit.
no, yeah, I'm looking to you.
And that's a nighttime hearing.
So March 26th, yeah, 6 PM here at Town Hall. Okay, there was a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. All right, I think we're on the walk-ons now. Oh, thank you. All right, 31246 authorizes the Town Planning and Development Administrator to attend the American Shoreline and Beach Preservation Association's Resilient Coasts Conference.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 31248 is warrant number 4, capital number 4, CPF 4, and payroll liability.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 31263, authorize the acceptance of a contribution from the town of East Hampton toward the advertising and marketing campaign to promote the South Fork Community Connection.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that program seems to be on track. The advertising's
No pun
been.
intended.
Pun intended. March 4th. You're going to use this opportunity once again to promote the fact that we have a commuter train starting on March 4th from Spionk to Montauk, or first one is Spionk to Amagansett, and the second train is Hampton Bays to Montauk. Schedules are available on our website. Some of us are going to be on the maiden voyage, right?
That's what I hear.
I'm planning on taking one of those trains. So, all right, sounds good. All right, and once again, thank you to Assemblyman Thiel, who has really spearheaded the effort to get that local train. So we're hoping people take advantage of it. And the traffic's already started, so I've been seeing it building up in the morning. So hopefully people will choose another alternative, a better alternative, and go from the roads to the rails. All right, 31268 authorizes the supervisor to sign amendment to contract with AMEC E&E PC for environmental consulting services at Damascus Road landfill site.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
31271 rejects the bids for construction of a bathroom at Good Grand Park. But we already approved
Yeah. so-
another one, so this is just a cleanup resolution.
Yeah, we had
that
a-
we're proceeding.
Yeah, we, I guess initially proceeded with a stick-built bathroom. The prices came in much too high, higher than budgeted.
So
and
we're going to flush this one on the way.
No.
Stop. What a waste. We need we need rooms to rest, I don't know. Restroom?
Restroom.
All right, so, yeah, so we found another alternative, the Parks Department's found another
Modular.
alternative that's within budget, a more modular design. So, all right, so there was a motion by Councilman Scalera, I'll second it, if it wasn't already seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. That is our last resolution. So, is there any other business? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.